Actually, I have also come with this book and I'm wanting to show it here because the story of Kunan Poshpora, I think, epitomizes the extent of impunity that the armed forces enjoy and how it prevails and how it tries to curtail people's rights and their struggle towards justice. But on the contrary, the more they have tried to do that, I think the very fact that for 26 years, 5 of 6 of the women, actually the victim survivors, have died, of old age. But there are other women who have innumerable times, as you have said, also testified. And the fact that these people are not held accountable, or the state is not held accountable, or the country is not shaken by this kind of a mass rape, whether this or Shopian, where 2 women were also raped and murdered, from the time when this happens to the time when investigations are either shut or they are botched up and justice is not done. So it is a very deliberate policy, I think, of not only protecting the perpetrators, but in fact rewarding them, promoting them, and none of them, there has been no conviction whatsoever, and the struggle still goes on. This asks a very interesting question that even a custodial rape, individual rape, and here we are talking about a mass rape of so many women and where men were tortured also. This is what they ask: is this kind of violence and crimes against women legitimate in Kashmir because they've been committed by uniformed men in the name, again, of protecting those borders? It happened in 2 villages in Kupwara, which is very close to the LOC. And how many official teams have gone there? How many fact-finding teams have gone there? Officials have refused to believe that, and they were in denial that this happened, because this, to them, it was like maligning the armed forces. This is all in support of the militants. They tried to put it in that manner. But the fact remains, and this book actually has put together all the documents. It's not just a story which is, based on what the women have said. There is all kinds of evidence, and it's not only Kunan Poshpora. If you see the alleged perpetrators report or the later structures of violence, there is documented evidence against armed forces of committing rape, mass rape, raiding homes. I have visited so many families of former militants. Till today they are hounded, and what women suffer there is unheard of, unbelievable. The reality that we live in, I think it's too far for us to even imagine that 100 army men can enter a small home and they're jostling for space, the family members, and what they do to the women at a time like this is unbelievable. And yet, I think what I am very impressed with, all the victims, all the women, all the survivors, you see, they cannot always remain silent. And this is one of the things about the sustained resistance and the movement, where women are also playing a very major role, that they would not keep silent anymore. And that is how you challenge impunity. Because impunity is not just the number of military strength you have, it's not only in the numbers, there are signs of it in your daily life everywhere, how you have to negotiate your life. And to me, it's amazing that people lead their daily life still, despite all this suppression, with a degree of dignity, and the loss of fear is something which I think is a very positive sign, because they're living in very abnormal times. And I think this is one of the most normal reactions for us, at least, to be able to recognize not only the way people struggle, but the kind of struggle over these 27 years, despite so much of loss of lives and destruction and deaths in the name of nationalism. And this is where, when these rapes happen and when you question, they question us back by saying that you are questioning the national security. What about people's security? What about people who are actually living there and dealing with these kind of problems, actually? So I think it's a major struggle, and it's commendable that young women of Kashmir came together to reopen the case. They were instrumental in reopening that case. And just a tiny story within that story is how they mobilized 100 women, of whom almost 50 dropped out, because when you're filing that petition, you also have to put your ID cards along with it till that is accepted. Many of the women did not want to be without their ID cards even for a day, because that ID card is your life.
When we talk about impunity in conflict areas, what we mean is the impunity provided to all the government forces for anything which they do in the course of their, as they say, service or duty. It could be rape, it could be unwanted killing, bloodletting, it could be enforced disappearance of a person, it could be custodial torture, it could be custodial rape, it could be foisting false cases, whole range of things that are available to the authorities to use against the people. On the other side, you have the forces who have been empowered, where no prosecution can take place without the sanction of the government. It's this sanction, and the sanction doesn't just follow from Armed Forces Special Powers Act. There are other ways in which sanctions also are part of our criminal jurisprudence, section 197 of the CRPC, where no police officer, no security force, no government servants can be prosecuted without the sanction of the government. As Sahba mentioned, there is not a single case of conviction. Rare is a case of a conviction of a perpetrator of a heinous crime by the armed forces. But there is another side to it that we fail to address. Impunity flows from the kind of two-glass system of law that we have introduced in India, where the armed forces in the conflict zone or the government forces in very many situations are treated differently, as far more privileged than a normal person. There is no equality before law, because civilians have no recourse to justice. They can't go to the armed forces, the general court martial, because court martial is a court of discipline of its soldiers. It's not a court of justice where civilians can go and file a complaint against an armed force personnel, and the army judges try those persons out, and the civilians even have a presence. No, civilians have no locus standi. What it means is that you have closed all doors for normal access to justice. So there is no equality before law in conflict areas, and that the impunity that flows from that, and as a result of that, is what we should be concerned about, because this can very easily spread to other not conflict areas. Even protesters in India would be met by pellet guns, which have been tried out in Kashmir as a policing method. We didn't open our mouth when the pellet guns were used. But when they start using pellet guns against protesters here, what are we going to do? And that's precisely the point with impunity, that it doesn't just confine itself to the conflict zones. In order to understand impunity, it's not just the fact that there is social sanction from the society, which believes that the army is doing a good job, and if they are killing somebody or raping or torturing somebody, it's all for greater good of the nation state and national security and so on and so forth. But I think we are being extremely naive in believing this, because it's the surest, it's a slippery slope which doesn't just stop there, it carries on. Very soon we'll have a complete subversion of the criminal justice system, where we'll have no recourse to justice at all. That is the kind of state that we could be heading towards.
Memorializing, I think, has become a very, very significant part, because whether it is the association of the disappeared persons, the families, every month on the 10th of every month they come out in public, they don't raise a slogan, they all wear their masks, and they only hold the placards of the missing persons. Point is that we shall not forget, and we will not let this happen again. And I think this is quite remarkable in their struggle for justice, whether it is just civil society groups, whether it is women who are affected, and those who are not directly impacted also, because they live in a situation where it's a constant reminder that yes, you have been denied justice and you will continue to fight. The route to justice, the access to justice is so difficult for them and denied to them in most cases, but I think it is their relentless struggle for it, despite the fact that there is a loss of trust in the judiciary. There is no doubt about it, yet people will not give up. And this is why I think the whole demand for building a memorial in the name of the disappeared, or Kunan Poshpora, even where women say that these people have to be the perpetrators, brought to book and brought to justice. I think this is the mood of the people, and the more they do this, the stronger the resistance and the movement that is taking shape, where women and victims and survivors are also playing a major role.
When the army says that, or the security forces say that they always fire only because they are provoked, or retaliation, it's always in retaliation. There are several questions, but the basic question that comes to mind is, why are they there in the first place? Why are they there in the first place? I mean, the presence of the security forces itself is a provocation for civilians. Just imagine, if we, living in Delhi, we had to live through a similar experience where without an identity card we would have no existence, we could be hauled up, abused, blackmailed, money extorted from us, etc., etc., where we fear for our life because these are trigger happy, they have been given powers of life and death over us. How would we feel? It's then the language that the armed forces use becomes, we have to demystify and deconstruct these words, because they use it to divert our attention from the whole history of their presence there.